Women are the most influential in a family dynamic. We are incredibly influential in household income, incredibly influential in decisions that we make as a family, and prioritizing resources and care and what that means. We generally set the cultural tone. We're going to gather into a space of belonging to each other and into a space of safety. I run a community called Making Relationships Work, and I specialize in women whose marriages are in crisis and everything else has failed. And more recently, so that's been 8 years, and then more recently, I have started work in neurodivergent marriages. And neurodivergent marriages are a very different complexity to neurotypical marriages. And I run communities for women in these spaces, and I have done since 2018, so a long time. I have recently felt the call to expand our community into the general public. So I built the Wisdom Stripes and I built Wisdom Labs. So Wisdom Stripes is a podcast about wisdom so that we can start to put back wisdom in everyday people's lives, because in this community, which is paid and high ticket, we have access to a huge amount of wisdom and we change women's lives in ways that are unfathomable from when they first come in. I want to make that more visible for every other woman or man or person who is looking for it. And there's this rule of thumb in corporate Australia, corporate America, corporates, which is you can only move somebody plus or minus 10%. You want to change a culture, you can do it plus or minus 10% at any given time. When you are in an intensive program, which mine are, you can do 10% a day. You can change a lot over a short amount of time. And when you're in your real life, not working at this level every day, it becomes something that you can do little bits of every day, and eventually it adds up to a whole lot of change. Start to add that 10% in, because every little bit more that you know, you get to have a different experience of life. So the first thing we're going to work on today is the idea of your influence. Women are the most influential in a family dynamic. We are incredibly influential in household income. We're incredibly influential in decisions that we make as a family and prioritizing resources and care and what that means. We generally set the cultural tone, and we are often equal financial income earners, or we are contributors in that way as well. So we have a huge amount of power. And in 2018, when I founded my work for relationships that were in crisis, and then 18 months ago when I founded the Neurodivergent Relationship Deep Dive and Focus, what I did was really expose the leadership power that a woman has. And so I'm really peeling back the curtains here. So when you understand who you really are, and how you already have more influence than you know. And then we start to build you in a way that moves you towards being the version of you that achieves her goals, that grows through adversity, that develops her skills, that notices and appreciates herself. What we start to build is a change in culture that comes from the heart of the system. And that's been one of my very big advantages for all the work that I do in the program success that I have. So what that means for anyone watching, and again, it doesn't matter your gender, you have more influence than you realize. And what gets most people stuck is that they try to solve questions that don't have good outcomes. So they'll get stuck in a human kind of thought of, why is it so hard? Why is everybody around me doing better than me? Why can't I? just have this thing? Why can't my friend, partner, husband love me better? Why can't they see me? Why don't they take care of me? Why aren't I good enough? Why does this hurt so much? Why do other people have better lives? And those are all very normal human experiences. What's missing, though, in a question like that is that if you want to start to solve that question, you're going to go into all the details about why your life has led you to this point. And your beautiful brain is going to set about its task of trying to answer the question. And the question is, why am I not good enough? Your beautiful brain is pointed in the direction of answering that question. So you're going to get a whole lot of answers that support all the ways in which you've never been good enough. And is that going to help you get to where you want to go? No, it's not. It's only going to confirm the bias you have that you're not good enough. And what we call that is confirmation bias, where you're confirming your bias. Or we might say you're looking through a lens of not good enough, for example. It could be any one of those ones I mentioned and any of those ones that I didn't mention in that same vein. But you're going to be looking for data that matches that pattern. And your brain is tasked with finding that data. And you know what? Your brain's going to find it. So your very first understanding is recognizing, hang on a second, do I want to confirm those biases or do I want to grow through them? And if I want to grow through them, then we're in a very different lens. We're in what are all the ways in which I am good enough? And watch your brain start to answer that question. So pause a minute and ask yourself, what are all the ways I am currently good enough? If you're like most humans, your brain's going to scramble on that. It's going to be a bit like, I don't know, oh. And it might want to take you back down into what you're not good enough to do. And that is just its favored position, right? That's just what brains do. So instead, what I want you to do is sit with it a minute. And it's going to maybe feel uncomfortable to adjust gears, because now I'm looking for your brain to start to work for you, which is to remember all the times where you have been good enough. And good enough is not like perfectionistic, high achieving, etc., etc. It is more like, I successfully managed the household budget this week. I delivered food to my children for most of the meals at a reasonable quality. I completed my work. I took a nap. I was able to clear out a cupboard that's been bothering me that I wanted to do. I was able to spend some quality time with a loved one. They're all the ways that you're good enough, and your brain is focused on all the ways in which you're not. And so when we start to say, okay, well, what do I want to build as my bank here? Do I want to have a massive pile of all the ways I'm not good at? Or do I want to have a pile of all the ways that are factually correct for the things that I am good at? And when we get to that factually correct, am good at piece, then we're in business, because you have overcome the internal feelings of not wanting to do that, having it feel clunky, uncomfortable, unfamiliar, and maybe a little bit hocus pocus, like, what is this going to do for me kind of thing. All of that resistance is pretty normal when you're learning something new. The reason why you want to build the ways in which you are successful is you want to remind yourself of your influence. Because if you're going to lead yourself, your loved ones, your family through a life and become a matriarch, a patriarch, or a community leader, or some combination of those, then actually you need to accept that you have more influence than you realize. And you need to accept that you are stronger than you know, and that you are more powerful than you could imagine. So, now that we've started work on this biased thinking, and we're starting to be able to capture the ways in which you are successful, and you are successful, you're here watching this video, that's impressive enough that you've captured, you're sitting down, you're interested in growing and understanding. That's already successful. So what you could add to your list is, I pay attention. I'm actively looking to learn, listen, and grow because I want to have access to more wisdom, because I understand that I want to have a good impact, right? So now we're sort of in the space of recognizing our influence. We're in the space of recognizing the way in which our thinking shapes our feelings. So when you're in that, I am not good enough, I don't do well, everybody else has it better, I can't do this, I've tried that, it doesn't work. When you're in that space, your brain goes and gets all the ways in which that's true. But if you want to reach a goal, or if you want to grow into the next version of yourself, that kind of thinking takes you away from your goal of growth, because it's only going to confirm that you suck when where you are is where you deserve to be. And the human experience is not that. You do not suck. You are a human who is in a human suit growing through human things, and it's real hard sometimes, okay? Like it is. So we don't want to get caught in that side pattern. Instead, what we want to do is we want to start to say, who is the next version of me that has already solved the problem that I'm currently feeling? And that version of me, does she think like that? Chances are, most of the time, she doesn't get stuck in those loops. We give you grace from a human perspective to let yourself have that human experience 20% of the time. If you want to be a person who grows into the next version of you, though, what we're really looking at is, I don't really think like that most of the time, because if I'm thinking like that, I'm moving away from growing. If I'm moving away from growing, I'm actually not maturing and I'm not evolving, because that thinking is keeping me over here and I want to be going over there. So how do you do different ways forward? How do you have a different life experience? Then you start to capture that thinking that I've already asked you to do, all the ways in which you are winning. And now what you're going to do is start to think about, well, who is the version of me that has this next level life that I wish for? What is she thinking? What is she feeling? What is she doing? And you're going to get a pen and paper and you're going to start sketching that out. And you're going to set the goal of, this is the version of me I want to grow into. And when you come to a next level situation where you're in that human experience and it's real tough, and you're coming up against an obstacle that you don't know how to overcome, some old thinking that's stuck in your way, another person that's hurting you, another situation which is confounding, you're going to stop for a second, and before you go down a rabbit hole that takes you away from what you want, you're actually going to say, if I was the version of me that had already solved this, how would I be thinking? What would I be feeling? What would I be doing? And then you're going to say, what is my next right step? And you're going to step into that next right thing. And that is you starting to break the pattern of turning away from who you need to grow into, who you're called to grow into, which is your own wisdom, wise self. And you're stepping into the version of you that has that wisdom, and you're pulling it forward. So what is the next right thing I need to do? Now, if we're in my relationship space, we'd also say, how do you do that without breaking connection with somebody else? But I think we'll have that as another video. And if you want that video, comment below and tell me, and I'll make it for you. So let's just stay with you at the minute. So you now have a version of who you want to grow into. You understand that thinking in those downward spirals takes you away from that version. And now what we want you to do is start to take the next right action. Okay? So we're walking our way towards being the version of ourselves that has solved the problem. That is very, very different to the I suck and here's all the ways in which I suck. One is moving you towards something and one is moving you away from something and keeping you at a pretty low level of your human experience. There's one last thing that you need to do. Now, when you have gone through those sequences, you're going to start to feel more powerful. And we're going to start to build what's called a belief stack. So your beliefs at the moment are very good at the negative things. I'm not good enough. I'm terrible at this. Other people have better lives than me. I can't be trusted. People don't love me. I don't do well in new situations. I'm not good at art. I'm not good at life. I can't cook. I can't keep track of time. All of those negative beliefs, those are things that you have a lot of data for, and we don't want to add to that anymore. We've got it. You're a human. Humans have those things, okay? So now what we want to build is data for how you are actually a powerful human leader. Let's build the data for that. So the thing is that every time you stop and don't go this way towards the things that don't work for you, and instead feel into the version of you that sits next and pull out the next right step and take that step, I want you to make a note of it in your journals. And I want you to see and feel and understand that you just made a decision that took you towards the version of you that you want. You short-circuited a very strong neural pathway in that brain and nervous system and body of yours, and instead of going this way, you went this way. Now, that's going to cost you energy, so you're only going to be able to do that a few times a day before you get tired. That is normal. That is reasonable. So when you are able to do that, I want you to be like, whoa, I did it. I made a change, or I stopped and didn't break connection and I calmed down, and then I took the next step. When you can give yourself that experience of recognition that you can pattern interrupt and move towards the thing that you want, and stop yourself from trotting down that well-ridden path towards doom and isolation and helplessness and hopelessness and depression, when you can stay on track to grow into the version that you wish to become because it belongs to you, then we are really cooking with gas. So you're going to start to notice and appreciate yourself every single time you do that. Now, you might do that a lot of little times, or you might just do that one big time. It doesn't matter. Capture all the little times, capture the big time. Feel just as good either way, because every single one that you do and you start to literally write out, you will eventually build the belief stack that is real and authentic, that is way bigger than the ones that you've been growing and accumulating since you were born. The goal is we build out the ones that move you towards who you want to grow into, and we don't focus on the ones that don't. So this is the exact reason why you have more influence than you know. You have more ability to grow and lead and change than you realize, and that it is all right here for you to change your life any way you want to when you're ready. And I say, what are you waiting for? Yes? So comment below if you want another video on relationships, or if you have any questions about this, and I will see you on the next video.